Hi, it's me, Katie, and this week I wanted to give some advice for beginning songwriters. Now, this isn't definitions or structure too much, it's just more ideas or tips of things that I found helpful in the very beginning when I was first starting. So maybe you're already doing these things and you just want some affirmation, or you just needed a place to start because songwriting's pretty intimidating, and I know sometimes it's hard to find things about it so you can get on the right direction, so I hope this helps. Write what you know. Now, I know if you've watched a lot of these videos, maybe you've heard this before, like obviously write what you know, but I feel like sometimes people, or even myself, I'll be like, this is kind of boring, or this has already been said a million times, but chances are if you're feeling that way, or if you've experienced this, many other people have too. If you think it's already been done a million times, then it's kind of a good creative challenge to be like, how can I say this in a way that hasn't been said before, or do this in a way that hasn't been done before, because this has already happened, but it hasn't had your chords, your melody, your ideas, your poetic tone, or however you talk. That kind of dialogue hasn't been done by you yet. So I think I would take that as a challenge and just write what you know, and you'll probably get more positive feedback than you thought. But also, if you're just starting, don't be afraid to write what you don't know. I definitely think people probably steer clear of the idea of writing like someone they like because they don't want to sound like them, they want to sound like themselves, not this other person. But when you're first starting, you're probably not gonna pitch these songs to anyone or anything like that, so definitely don't put yourself in this box where you're not allowed to try to express yourself through what you already know, because when I first started writing, Taylor Swift was a big inspiration to me, so I would just use what I knew about her and her style and her voice to kind of tell my stories, and eventually I got to a point where I didn't need that anymore. I could kind of take off the training wheels and write a song from my perspective with my voice, and I feel like I wouldn't have got there if I was so turned off to the idea of writing like someone else. It's a good idea to keep both avenues open. Write what you know, but don't be afraid to try to write what you don't know, because either way you could get a really good song out of it. A skeleton song. Now, I don't know if this is a popular term, but it's just the way I remember it being called, and it's just where you take chords from one song that you really like and put them in another song, your song. Disclaimer, but be sure to change the melody and stuff, obviously, because you don't want to get sued. I just use the chords as like inspiration, because I know people can get into this chord rut where they're just using these chords all the time because they like them and there's no better chord combination, but you're keeping yourself away from all these new weird chord combinations. So if you know of an artist that you really like or a song you really like, it's helpful to analyze it and kind of see what chord structure they had or that kind of thing, because you can end up at least using bits and pieces of that phrase and putting it into your song. You don't even have to copy it identically. Even if you just like the key, I use the website Auto Chords, and I just put in, I want a moody, it's like you can say a singer-songwriter-y song with the key of E minor, guitar, whatever, and then it just gives you boop, all these chords, and you can either use the ones they suggest, I never use those, or it tells you all the other chords in the key that you can use, which is really helpful. And it's just helped me a lot. I was once learning this song in my guitar class, and I was having trouble with bar chords. So for some reason I was just like, I really like these chords, but they're hard to play, but I'm gonna put them in a song anyway, and I ended up writing one of my favorite songs that I've written. You never know what you're gonna get out of it, so I would definitely use that because it gets you out of that rut and puts you in this new place. You might write a song that you were never expecting to write. Finish your songs. Now, I know this might be a weird piece of advice, like, what do you mean finish your songs? But I can't say how many times I've written like this angry song or this sad song or this song where I was in this really passionate thing and I'm like, yeah, this song is gonna be my best song, I'm gonna do it. And then I get halfway through and I'm like, I'm gonna do something else, I'm bored. And then I come back, I've had time to reflect, and I'm like, I don't feel this way anymore, so I'm gonna throw this song away. Or I come back months later and I read it and I'm like, I don't feel this way anymore, I don't like this song, I'm not gonna use it. Which could have been true even if I finished it, but I feel like if it was done, I would have been like, I see what I was trying to say, like all the way, so I have more room to play and tweak with it, which I suppose you could do with half a song, but I feel like you don't get to see where your emotions were fully going if you didn't like even leave anything at the end. I would definitely recommend if you get to a point like that where you're just like, I need to put this song down, because I get it, there's parts where you're just like beating this song up and you need to put it down, you need to reflect. Sometimes it might even be a good idea to like journal in how you feel, like this is how I was feeling and this is what I was kind of thinking about doing, but I just can't get it. So that way when you do come back days, weeks, months later, you can open this and be like, oh yeah, that's what I was trying to do. I learned this new thing or this new technique and I want to try it out on this song. It kind of gives you a good place to start, especially if you were in a writer's block and now you have this almost finished song, but you now have some tips on where you were trying to go with it. So overall, I do recommend finishing your songs in some way, whether it be lyrically, you have a direction. Just give yourself some direction, because you'll definitely thank yourself for it later. I know I have. Now, have you ever been just sitting on the floor with your guitar playing this wonderful song for 6, 7, 10 minutes without any end in sight, and you think, this is just perfect, this is exactly the way I want my song to sound? Maybe you have, and maybe a few people would agree with you, but chances are it's missing some lyrical structure. So what I would recommend is this advice that I got from my mom when we were just in the car so long ago. She just kind of went off, said, songs are like stories set to music. And I was like, I like writing short stories. I like music. I was playing clarinet and I had just learned guitar. Why don't I try songwriting? Obviously not with the clarinet, but I could give it a shot with the guitar. So that's what I did, because it helped a lot for me with finding out what I wanted my song to say and how I wanted it to be said and the arc and what was going to happen in the second verse. Because for me, a lot of the times you get this, I write from the very beginning of the song, so you get this beautiful opening and this great chorus, and then you kind of get to that now what moment, and you're just like, I don't know where I want this to go. I don't want to ruin this song. It's perfect. Verse, chorus, done. But if you have this kind of think of it as stories aspect, you can get to, well, now I want to take it here. I want this character to go to this place now or feel this thing because that's how I was feeling. And also don't feel like this is a country advice, because I love country music, but I'm not saying you have to have these real characters with names and all that. Even if you want to use you and I, like in, you know, pop, whatever, any other genre. It's just more the idea of the structure of having a place to go. I feel like that'll help a lot with what you want the song to say and what you want it to do. My last piece of advice would be don't overthink it. I'm still struggling with this today. You know, I get to a point where I'm like, yeah, that's it. I'll never write a good song again. That last song was it. I'm never gonna be able to top myself. Whether or not that's, I mean, obviously that's not true, but I've definitely gotten to points where I'm like, yeah, might as well just not pick up the guitar again. That's it. I'm phoning it in. I'm ending on top. Because I feel like either I get that in that place, or I'm like, this person just wrote this beautiful album. They've been in the industry for 15 years. I'm never gonna write like that. I know I just started, but how am I supposed to get there? Or they're in like a different genre, so it's like even weirder to try to compare the two. You know, it's easy to overthink, get in your head like, I'm never gonna be them, I'm never gonna do this. Just try to, when you get those thoughts, try to think about, you know, you'll get past it. It's just something you have to get past, and maybe you'll even get a good song out of being in that moment. There's definitely two terms that have helped me with this idea of not overthinking, and it's writing with the door closed and writing with the door open. When you write with the door closed, that's when you do the sitting on the floor writing the 10-minute guitar ballad that has absolutely no direction. You kind of just can have your creativity and do exactly what you want to do, no filter. But when you write with the door open, that's when you kind of let a critic in and you kind of put on your critique hat. What can I do to this song to make it even better? So you kind of have to separate the two, and there's been way too many times when I have the two just together, and every time I try to write something, I just shoot it down. I'm like, this is not an environment that I want to work in. Like I said, I'm still having issues with this, but I feel like if you catch it early, it's easier to see like, okay, I'm writing with the door open when I just started this song. I don't want to do that. So pay attention to that when you're writing, because I think that'll help a lot. So those are all my tips. Be sure to like this video if you want more songwriting advice, because obviously I love to talk about music and songwriting and structure. So if you want another kind of sit down video where I walk you through any of my processes, what I do with writer's block, all those things, I would love to talk about them. Just comment below suggestions of what you want to hear, and I'll be sure to do that. I hope you enjoy your Tuesday, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.
You thought you were something new. You thought you were worth this attention you desire.